Hi everybody, this video is a tutorial on how to make this frog pond. Thank you so much for the amazing response on Reddit. Because you guys, I wanted to quickly put this together for you. So as you may know, I do crochet over top of old plastic containers, and this guy here is no different. So this is what I use as the base. Let me grab it here for you. So this is what I use as the base. It is a takeout container. You'll notice that I did cut off the lip. I did use that in another project as a wreath frame. So I cut off the lip and I did stuff it. Typically when I stuff my containers, I use styrofoam because it's solid. I just had this fancy packaging that some orchids came in at work, so I saved that instead of that going in the trash, and it's I'm using it because it's a bit stiffer. I wouldn't really recommend using polyfill unless you're able to make some kind of like a cardboard cover or something to flatten off the top of your polyfill or your stuffing, just so that you can keep the flatness of the water. All right, and then in terms of hook size, yarn, all that kind of stuff, honestly, the yarn is 100% up to you, what you have, what look you're going for, what color you like, what texture you want. The hook size, I usually go down 1 or 1.5 hook size than what is recommended on the yarn label, just to get a tighter stitching and a little bit of a stiffer fabric. I don't want my container showing through, basically. So that's why I always go down at least 1, if not 1.5 in a hook size. So for me, what I did on this project, these are the yarns that I used here. I used a 2.5 millimeter hook because most of the yarns that I was using, they were like a 4 weight. So for the yarns here, I actually don't have the yarn labels for any of them. I do know that this one on top is a Red Heart Soft. I think the colorway is mint, but I may be incorrect on that. But I do know it's a Red Heart Soft. This guy I actually got from the dollar store. I think it's a cotton blend. It's a lot thinner, so it's probably more of like a 3 weight or a really light 4. And then this guy here, I'm pretty sure it is a Red Heart. I've had it for years, and I don't have the label for it, but it's a cute variegated pastel multicolor yarn. So these are the ones that I used for this project here, as you can see. Obviously, I also did use some safety eyes, smaller for the smaller frog and bigger for the bigger frog. All right, so without further ado, let's pop into the pattern. Okay, so when I'm covering my containers, I do go from the back, outside, up the edges, and then into the center. So the pattern's really simple. You're basically going to be crocheting a flat circle out to the edges. You're going to go up the sides and then in and around. So I do have a video on how to crochet a flat circle. So this is really adjustable to whatever container that you have. So this pattern is going to show you what I did, but you can add and subtract rows as you need to fit your container. So it's very basic. In your first round, you're going to make a magic ring, and you're still going to single crochet 6 singles into that magic ring. You're not going to join and with a slip stitch. I do it amigurumi style in a spiral without joining, so I do use a stitch marker marking my last stitch in each row. You can do the slip stitch and join, but you do end up with a seam. Doing it in the spiral method, it ends up being seamless. So after you do your 6 single crochet, you're going to continue on with an increase in each stitch, giving you a total of 12. And then the pattern starts for your circle. So in the first one, you're going to go 1 single crochet and then an increase. That'll bring you up to 8 stitches. You'll repeat the 1 single crochet and an increase around. The next row would be a 2 single crochet and an increase, bringing you to 24 stitches around. And then the pattern kind of goes that way. Your stitch counts will always go up by 6 per row. And then your single crochets in between your increases will be going up by 1 per row. So for me, that took me to get to the end of my container, that took me all the way to doing 14 single crochets with an increase, bringing me to a total of 96. But for yourself, you may be bigger or smaller. You may end up with having to go all the way up to 16, 17, 18, or maybe you only need to go up to 9 or 10 or smaller based on the size of the container that you have. Regardless, you're basically going to make your circle as big as you need it until you need to start going up the sides. Now, when you start going up the sides, there's 2 options. You can do it with just a single crochet around, and that's going to give you this smooth transition because it is a stretchy fabric, so it'll just stretch around. You'll just do a single crochet. Or if you do want to create a little bit of a lip, an edge, you can do it in the back loops only. So this is an example here where there is a clear line that goes around. So if you want to get that line, then you'll want to do this version here for your following round with single crocheting only in the back loops. But if you're looking for the smooth transition, you're going to just want to single crochet around. So that continues. You're going to single crochet around as many rows as you need to get to the top of your container. Don't feel bad if you are testing the fit and you need to either go back here and make it bigger or smaller. I definitely recommend testing the fit frequently before you get too far where it's a really big pain, because sometimes you just don't judge it properly. So just keep fitting your piece onto your container as you go and increase your rows or decrease them accordingly. Anyway, sorry. So you'll single crochet around all the way to the top edge of your container. This is where I always do a back loop and a back loop stitch. You could get away with continuing with a single crochet up and then kind of like folding the fabric in and over, but I like to make that 90-degree turn. So to make the 90-degree turn, when I get to the top of my container here, I do a row of single crochet in the back loops, giving me this line here. The next row is the same. I'll do another row in the back loops to make that 90-degree turn. So it's just a row of single crochets all the way around in the back loops for here, and another row of single crochets all the way in the back loops for here, which is actually this row here. And then for this container, I was able to just do another row of single crochets and another row of single crochets. If your container doesn't have like straight up and down sides, if it kind of like comes in, you may need to actually decrease to make it fit smoothly and not have excess fabric. But since we're only doing the top couple rows, just doing the single crochets, no matter what your container looks like, should be fine. So once you get to your couple rows on the inside, you can take a look here. For me, that took me to row 29 with just the 2 single crochet rounds on the inside. You'll fasten off, and I do crochet the water separately. So you'll fasten off, get that guy out of the way there. You can have it wrapped up, your container wrapped up, ready to go. And then, so for the water, you're just crocheting a flat circle to fit the inside of your container. So you'll see here, row 1 to the 16 is the same as the outside cover. So it did take me 16 rows to fill it, which is probably going to be whatever you did up here is probably what you're going to want for the inside. So in terms of sizing, you probably aren't going to need it smaller unless your container does, as I have more of a V shape like that, then obviously it's going to be a bit smaller. So once again, kind of you'll have to adjust it as needed for the size of your container, but you're just making a flat circle to fit here. So that gets sewed on separately, but I always do all of my embellishments sew on all of my embellishments before attaching it. It's just a lot easier. So on the water portion is where we're going to be sewing on these frogs here. So to make the frogs, I do have the one in the back is slightly smaller than the one in the front. They are essentially the start of spheres. Same with the eyes. They're all the start of spheres that I just stop part way. So for the small frog, it's really similar to what we've been doing before. You're going to single crochet in a magic ring 6. You're going to increase in each to get 12. You're going to do the one single with an increase around to get 18, and then you'll do the single one row of single crochet around. So essentially, depending on how large or small you want your frog to be, you're going to be crocheting your flat circle, and then you'll crochet in singles. Usually I only do one single crochet because I really want it to look like he's low peeking over. The more rows of single crochets, the taller your frog is going to be. So if you do want him sticking out a little bit more, you can do another row of single crochets. So as you'll see in here, for the big one, or sorry, for the small one, it was the basically getting to an 18 and single crocheting around. Whereas this guy is the same as the small frog for the large one, except you're just going to do the pattern to get you to the 24 with a single crochet around. The eyes are very similar, as you can see here as well. So for the small eyes, it's a single crochet in a magic ring and then just increase in each. Fasten it off. Make 2 of them, and same with these guys here. You're going to be doing the magic ring 6, your increase 12, and then just a single crochet around for 12 as well for those, just to make the eyes a little bit taller. Now I'm going to be completely honest, putting in the safety eyes into these tiny little domes was really frustrating. So if you guys think of a better way to do it, please do so, because I was really frustrated, and it was really difficult to get the safety eyes into these little domes here. So be warned, maybe gluing on some felt is easier. But so once all your pieces are crocheted, I put the safety eye through the little eye dome, pinned everything where I wanted it. I sewed the eyes to the frog, and then I sewed the frogs to the water separately, so the water is not yet attached to the container. That way you have easy access to the underside of the water. It just makes it way easier. And then I did use some pink embroidery thread just to add some pink little cheeks. And then once I got the frogs sewed on and I was happy with how they were attached, I then basically whip stitched the water to the inside of the container. You can start anywhere, and I just make sure that I do it the same for each stitch around. I don't do it the same on every project. So for this one, I went through both loops in the water and the bottom loop of the pond cover. So you'll see that I didn't go through both loops of the pond cover, so I still have this kind of this line here. I kind of like it. Sometimes if you don't want that line there, just make sure when you're sewing it together you go through both loops, and that should mitigate that line for you. Anyways, that is the basics of how I made the pond. Feel free to pause the video on the pattern, write it down, or just keep it paused while you make it. If you do make it, please show me. I would really love to see it. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm really happy to help you guys. Thanks so much for your support. Can't wait to talk to you soon.